just so you know, it's recording right now, Mom. So it's gonna be for me recording the whole thing. And Mom, it's good to see your face. Can you do me a favor? Say your name and say today's date for me, would you?
Just my name?
Yep. Tell me your whole name and say today's date so we can get going on this.
Okay, my whole name. My name is Vera Albrecht Welty,
Eh,
and I was born in Berlin, Neukölln,
Okay, say
Germany
today's date.
in
Today's date is
1939.
wow. Today's date is September 13th, 2025, just so that we have this indexed right when we put the recording together. And say again, you were born in what year and what city again?
I was born in the big city of Berlin, in a suburb or a portion of Berlin called Neukölln, which is close to Tempelhof Airport. And I was born in 1939, and it was still wartime.
Yeah. Well, can you spell that city, Norkern?
Neukölln, Neukylln.
Wow. So, for the sake of the video, they also want you to spell your name as well. So, can you spell your first, middle, and last name?
My first is Vera, Vera. My middle is Renate, Renate. And my last name is Welty, Welty.
And you can spell Albrecht for us as well if you could.
Albrecht.
So, can you do this for us? This is a really very basic question. Can you just tell us about yourself? If somebody was to say, Vera, tell me about yourself, what would you say to them?
There's not really much to know about me, except the wartime was still going on. It was still difficult to be living in the area in the time of 1945,
Mhm.
because there was, first of all, a lot of Nazis around and a lot of sabotage, espionage, and a lot of that kind of stuff. In fact, myself, I saw things blowing up for no reason. Trucks blowing up with merchandise in the trucks, just various different strange things.
And how young were you when you saw these things, these trucks
Say
blowing
that
up
again.
things? How young were you when you saw these trucks blowing up and these different things?
Maybe 5, 6 years old.
And you remember all that very clearly.
I remember all of the very bad stuff.
Mm.
Do you want to know some of the really bad stuff I remember?
Well, I think it would be interesting to hear it and from the history of it. So whatever you feel comfortable sharing, you are very welcome to share, Mom.
Well, I wrote it in my book. Well, we were notified, and that was the day when the war was over, 1945. My grandfather was working for the railroad, and he was having his little train that he took with all the merchandise in the train. It was mainly like milk products and vegetables and all that stuff from all the outlying little towns to the city for sale.
Mhm.
Well, anyway, somehow the Allies have thought it was ammunition, and they blew up the train with my grandfather in it, who did not have the opportunity to know that this was going to happen. Some people knew because they were cruising around in the sky. And that is one thing I always, the noise of the planes, of the Allies' planes, the high pitched noise of the planes drove me crazy. So anyway, they blew up the train.
Mm.
And my grandfather, of course, was one of the victims. So what
Mhm.
happened? And afterwards, day afterwards or same day, they took all the victims and put them on a flatbed truck,
Mm,
all face up, for people to identify them. So I needed to go with my grandmother, who was already decrepit with arthritis. I walked with her from home downtown, which took maybe half an hour, 45 minutes, to the marketplace to identify my grandfather.
mm,
Subsequently, my grandmother got a stroke or had a stroke very shortly thereafter.
mm. Wow. What do you?
And you know what? As far as burials are concerned, that
Yeah.
is what really bothered me.
Mm,
All those people that had been victims of this Allied um, attack were put in a mass grave,
mm,
all of them. So then they dug them up afterwards, and then the city and the country was obligated to put him in a nice grave in the graveyard. So my
mm,
grandfather ended up with a very nice grave, like all the others,
mhm.
that is taken care of all the time by the city.
Wow. And who decided to put them in a mass grave? Do you remember any of that?
Can you speak louder?
Who decided to put them in a mass grave?
They decided they didn't want the bodies laying around, so they put
Goodness.
them in at the cemetery in a mass grave.
Wow.
Yeah, that was 1945.
Wow. And do you have other memories of your grandmother?
I do, because she was in a hospital when she had the stroke,
Mm-hmm.
and she was in the hospital for a while. Then they brought her home, and
Mm-hmm.
then of course my dad, having come home from Siberia, was able to take care of my grandmother.
Okay. We can talk about that too in a moment. I was going to see if you could share a little bit more memories about your grandparents that you might have. I know you were 5 years old, but do you have any other memories you want to share about
I have
them?
memories of my grandfather. I used to play with his hair all the time. I used to step on my little stepping stool, standing behind him and combed his hair. He had this beautiful wavy hair, and I used to comb it and put curlers in it and all kinds of stuff. And he let me do anything I wanted to do.
That's cute.
And
And
my grandmother, she was, of course, taking care of the chickens we had. We
Mhm.
had a yard full of chickens. And so um, I had to make sure that the little chicks didn't leave and get underneath the fence to the neighbor's yard, which they did. And I was the one that always had to get them and put them back. So my
Did you,
grandmother made me do that.
yeah. Did you
And of
spend a
course, there
lot of
was my
time?
cousin Karin, too.
Oh, you spend
My
time with
cousin
Karen?
Karin,
Mhm.
6 years younger than me, I
Mhm.
believe. So between her and I, we used to be able to get some money from my grandmother to go to the butcher shop to get a bratwurst once a week on Saturdays, a bratwurst in a bun, like a what you consider a hot dog, but a bratwurst is much more delicious.
And how old were you when you would get to go down there and get a bratwurst?
How was it?
How old were you when you would go with Karen to go get a
Oh,
bratwurst?
well, I probably was 5,
Okay. Yeah.
and Karin, being 6 years younger, she wasn't even born then. No, that was all afterwards. But Evelina is 10 years younger than me, and
Hmm.
Karin was in between us. So I had what I read on here, what was my favorite sport to do, to play. It was kickball with the boys on the street. We did like a can, like a any can that you get something in. We kicked it around like a ball because we had no balls.
Yeah. Played
and
kick the
and,
can.
and played with
That's
the boys all the time too.
Yeah. Were there a
Always
lot of kids
boys.
around? Were there a lot of kids to play with?
And the girls didn't want to play with me. I was too bossy. And I was acting like a boy too. I was a tomboy. I used to climb fences too. That's one thing I didn't write in my journal. My mother made me this beautiful dress, a couple of them, from material that was given to her from American, maybe it was like a Goodwill Industry or something like, you know, I think the American, they send us all kinds of clothes.
Hmm.
So, anyways, she made me two beautiful dresses. What did I do? I climbed the fence and ripped it all over from the waist all the way down to the hem. And then I got a spanking from that.
That's fun. Did you spend a lot of time with Cotton?
I did actually, yes, because we went to the little garden that we had. It was my grandfather's garden. He rented it, maybe from the city. I'm not so sure how this all worked, but it was a very large garden. In the top, it had cherries, like a whole cherry forest, little sour cherries. In the middle, he had built a cabin. And I remember the cabin had a bench that you lifted up the bench and you put the cushions that you sit on inside. And there was this big tree around it. The cabin was built around a pear tree, but the pear was not very tasty. They were small and not very tasty. So, but we did have nice apples. And my grandfather, he grafted a lot of trees. Like he grafted one apple's type onto another. And we had berries. And we also grew potatoes because with this were the time you could not buy any food, no matter how much money you had. You could not buy any food. So this is the barter system came in. If you had something that your neighbors didn't have, like potatoes, let's say, or fruit,
Hmm.
apples, or whatever, you traded it for maybe coffee or flour or something that you needed and didn't have and couldn't buy. That's how it went. That's how it went after the war.
And do you remember having to be in a safe place during the explosions where there was where you had to be with family in protected areas?
I do remember when I was very little, maybe 2 or 3 years old in Berlin, the shelters we had, the bomb shelters you had to go in. So the sirens would go, and when the sirens went, because we lived in a third story, I think, in an apartment house, we had to all go down and then
Hmm.
find the shelter we were supposed to go to. And I remember the shelter. The wind was blowing through it, the rain was coming through it, and it was really bad. But you had to wait until the bombing was over and then you could go back in your apartment. That
And
was
you were
in Berlin.
saying,
My mother, I wrote all this stuff down. She said, "How could you remember that?" I do remember things that I really don't want to remember.
yeah, when you were having to be in shelter, did you have you were talking about bartering. Did you have to barter in order to survive during those times?
Did we have what to
Did
survive?
you have to barter in order to survive at those times when you
No.
were in
In
shelter?
Berlin, we did not do that.
Okay.
Not in Berlin. I don't know if we had any food or wherever it came from. My grandmother, my other grandmother, was living in Berlin.
Hmm.
And she sort of like, she had a little bird named Hansi, a little parakeet. But anyway, so what we did, usually we had whatever food we were able to buy. In Berlin, we could still do that
Okay.
somehow, get it. Maybe barter system, I'm not sure. I'm sure, you traded whatever you had. My aunt, Karin's mother,
Hmm.
she had the nerve to trade all the linens my grandmother had for food. She took it to the outskirts of town, to the farmers,
Hmm.
tablecloth, anything beautiful. She took it all there.
Did Karen's dad make some crafts or something? I remember a story you shared about that before too.
Alan did not have a dad.
Okay, there was your one of your uncles make um he made some crafts and had to barter in order for I remember you hearing a story about that. Did you remember a story about that?
My grandfather made whistles. He
Oh, okay.
was fiddling around with a whistle. He did make something, I can't remember now what it was.
Okay.
Yeah, he was pretty handy and crafty. He did a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Did you
In
shared about
fact,
your sorry, go ahead.
he built the shelves that we had in the basement
Huh?
that I slept in when the bombing was going on.
Okay.
He it was like the shelves were built like like you would see beds, like different layers.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have to sleep on one of the layers of the beds. And the bombing, you never know when it was happening because
Mm-hmm.
you know, the sirens would go and you have to go in. And my mom and my aunt, they slept in chairs, like lounge chairs,
Okay.
upholstered lounge chairs.
Hmm.
And I had to sleep on the
And yet they
apple
made you
crates.
bunks. They made you some
The
creative.
apple crates.
Okay. Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
My
So you
grandpa also made wine out of the cherries. He
okay, you
made
made
cherry
sure.
wine.
Huh. Now your grandpa sounds like he did a lot of different things. Did your grandma have a job too? Or
Did I what?
did your grandma have to work?
Mm, well, you know what they did before the war? All the women had to make Amlebale Venstre. That was a factory in Coburg where they
Mm-hmm.
made it was a teddy bear factory. So they got their materials. They had to take the materials home and they sew
Mm-hmm.
it up by hand, stuff it with whatever had to be stuffed, and then take it to wherever it could be assembled. Amlebale Venstre.
Wow.
And
And
somebody made the head
and so they made there's a teddy bear factory in town there, huh? So she had to work
because
there.
Coburg around in the surrounding area was actually like an area where they made a lot of toys, stuffed animal toys, and stuff like that. But I still remember to this day that my mom and I, we had to go, and which then strangely enough happened to be right across from the school that I went to,
Mm-hmm.
a big building where my mom and I, we had to make ammunition for the Nazis.
Oh, what was that like? Making
Ammunition.
ammunition for the
That
Nazis?
was still well, because they were so anxious to win the war. So we had to make ammunition. But they gave us whatever it was, and we had to
Okay.
wind it up, made it into like a spool type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that was what we had to do. That was forced labor on my mother's part. But because I was an only child, she had
Mm-hmm.
to take me with her.
Oh.
And I had to
Wow.
do it too.
And so your mom had a job doing that forced upon her. Did she
Yeah.
before the war, did she have a job before that too?
Yeah, she was a beautician. She had a beauty shop. And she worked in the beauty shop. She also was a seamstress.
Oh.
She made beautiful clothes, all sewn by hand.
Hmm. I feel like you have some of those skills. Did you get all those from your mom? Did you
Did
get
I
those
what?
skills? Did you get those skills
The
from your mom?
trades? Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, of course.
got passed down. That's cool. And what was your
But I
dad's
really
job?
didn't want to be a beautician.
You didn't want to be a beautician?
So
No?
she forced me. She said, I got this beauty shop and you're going to have to do it
Oh no.
because she she made me she made me go and take 4 years of experience to be a beautician.
Hmm.
And I never liked it really because I didn't want to listen to all these women tell me all their stories and stuff. Having to listen to all this crap. So this is why later on I chose to be a florist because I didn't have to talk to the flowers.
That's that's a great story. I like that. So what now tell me a little bit about your dad. What did he do before the war? What was his job?
My dad was a barber. And this is why my mom, she worked her well. This is how it worked. I'll tell you this. When you are in Germany and you have a trade, okay?
Hmm.
Like in her case, she was a seamstress.
Hmm.
She learned her trade of maybe 4 years or whatever. Then you get a license, in which case it's like a master's degree. And you with that, I have mine in writing. In fact, it's actually a really nice piece of paper. You could do that, take that, you go. She worked herself from Coburg all the way to Berlin, going through all the cities. That was during the war or before the war or during that whole, and she could, so if she stopped in like Leipzig, Dresden, anywhere big cities, and stopped at one of those places, that one of those shops, they will have to employ her
Oh wow.
by law. That's how it worked with
It's
mine
like a
as well.
franchise. It's like a franchise, huh? She almost worked for a franchise. It was like that, right?
I don't think, I don't know what you call it, but
Yeah.
it is it is a store. I mean, it's would have been probably a shop where they made clothing and stuff like that. And she would knock on the door and say, "I'm here, and I have my degree in this,
Yeah.
and and you are obligated to give me a job." That's how it
Wow.
worked. The
That's great.
obligation.
Hmm.
So these people had no choice. With me, the same thing with being a beautician. I had my degree. I could have gone anywhere, but then I met your dad instead. I could have gone anywhere and they would have given me a job or had to.
Hmm.
See?
I
I
love
don't
it.
know. They call it, there's a name for this. It's called Zunft. And that
Okay.
is something, and I seen it once on television on a German station, how it worked, how these people they have to wear certain clothes to
Hmm.
present themselves to be able to get a job. Really interesting. That was in a something going back to the Middle Ages, I think.
Really
Yeah.
sounds very collaborative and unionized. They
It's
um
something, and I don't know if it's still happening, but it was very interesting because the people and then all these people know each other too
hmm.
that are participating in this, you know, getting jobs in that way.
Yeah.
They know each other because they have all either gone to school together or know of someone that's gone. So it's really it's
Hmm.
an interesting circle of people.
No kidding. Um, Before I go on, I wanted to ask you if you could tell, there's a story that you've told me a long time ago about your grandma washing dishes and what happened.
Oh my gosh, yes. And I can still see it in my mind's eyes because, in those parts of the country, there were a lot of thunderstorms with
Hmm.
lightning and thunder. And we were being on the second floor and had the window open. The lightning beam would come right through and hit my grandmother as she was washing dishes because, water attracts lightning.
Hmm.
And it went right through her, right through her into the bowl of the water. And that was it. She didn't even know it happened.
Wow.
She didn't have fall down or anything like that. It didn't scare her because
Yeah.
only we saw it happening, but she didn't. She was standing in the where the basin where the water was,
Yeah.
and she didn't see it happen.
What did it look like? What happened?
Strangest thing. That
What
was in
who
Coburg.
saw it? What did it look like?
A lightning ping. Yeah, you've seen it on TV. when there's lightning, you see what a lightning beam looks like. It goes really
Yeah.
quickly through a person and
Uh-huh.
into the water.
Did it knock her
Or
down? Did she fall over?
or we also had a blitzableiter on top of our roof,
What's
which
that?
is something that would guide the lightning beam to the
Oh,
basement.
yeah.
Okay?
A lightning rod. It's called a
Lightning rod.
blitzerblad. Blitzerblad is a
Had one of
lightning rod.
those.
Cool.
Yeah.
So did she fall over? Did she pass out?
No,
Nothing?
she didn't know what happened. She didn't realize we had to tell her afterwards.
Oh my. But she stayed standing during that whole thing?
She was standing the whole, yeah, never fell
Whoa.
over, nothing.
That's amazing. That's just an amazing story. I remember hearing it a long time ago. I love it. Are, that's one of those family stories I think of. Do you have any other family stories that you remember from back then before we move on that is you remember as a kid?
What kind of stories?
You have any other stories that are memorable that you want to share from back when you were a kid?
Well, you have to kind of jog my memory there
Oh,
because
it's
I might
okay.
have told you
Here,
quite
let
a
me let
few.
me rephrase it a little bit. I'll phrase it a little more specific. What was it like when you were a kid, growing up where you did, when you did? Did you have an easy childhood? Was it a hard childhood? What was what was it like for you?
It was a hard childhood during the war, of course, and
Hmm.
after the war too, until I was maybe 10 years old,
Hmm.
something like that. And, it was just like, I know the American Army services, they gave us candy a lot of time,
Hmm.
chocolates. And I was taking them home, gave them to my mom because she deserved it. Um,
Maybe you
I
can
don't
talk
know.
about your dad a little bit. What was it like with your when your dad had to leave to go fight in the war?
Dad was on the Orient Express. I think this is what they used to bring the people back from Siberia.
Hmm.
And so he came back on that train from Siberia, and the Nazis, of course, watched all the people coming back on the train that were incarcerated, and they shot him. They
Wow.
did not want any leftovers. And that is why Wolfgang, my dear cousin, was hiding in the forest with a family that was sewing clothes out of old army blankets and stuff like that, making coats out of it. And he was hiding with them, learning a trade how to make clothes because he could not go home because they would have shot him. If he'd have showed his face coming out of the forest, they would have shot him point blank.
Wow.
Everybody, everybody.
So, so again, your father had to fight for for Hitler, and then he got captured by the Russians.
Yeah, right out of Moscow, not too far from Moscow.
Okay, and then sent to Siberia. How long was he in Siberia? Do you know how much time?
Years, I don't know how many years though.
Oh my.
It was until the war was over,
Okay.
1945.
So
Then they had to
45,
let
he
him
comes
go.
back. How did he escape not getting shot by the Nazis? You said that when they were those were coming back, you were talking about how Wolfgang was having to hide. How did your dad not get shot and was able to come back to you?
Well, I'm sure he was hiding too, but I don't know where. But
Okay.
he did make it home. He did make it home, and he was not in very good shape. First of all, there was no way his teeth were falling out,
Mm,
scurvy, no. So he had no teeth left. And
mhm.
whatever he had left on teeth, they had to pull it to get dentures. He had, I don't know what you call it, not diabetes, but when the body is filled up with fluids and they can't get rid of the fluids. So it was just like he was so blown up with fluids because all
Swollen.
they got was water.
Wow,
They
he
didn't
just
get any
consumed a lot of
food.
water. Hmm.
And they had to dig up roots out of the frozen ground in order to have something to eat. The Russians don't feed those people.
Yeah. Well, I
So
mean,
he
it was a camp. It was a camp. It was a concentration camp in Siberia. That's and what was he like that you just as your dad before compared to after? What was he like?
he was happy to be home, and he was happy he still had his violin too,
Hmm.
because the violin is what kept him alive,
Hmm.
playing for Adolf Hitler in his concert band wherever he was required to. And he played also for the whatever Russian soldiers up there in Siberia too. So it kept him alive to have that ability to be able to
Hmm.
play the violin. Then coming home, at one point he had to sell the violin in order to put food on the table.
Um,
So that was a sad situation.
must have broke his heart. Yeah. You said that he played violin for Hitler. Um, that's what his kind of
That's how it
position,
was in the beginning.
his
When he
responsibility.
joined the army, he joined the army to play his violin,
Okay.
not
And
to
was
not to
he,
be a not to be a soldier to shoot people, but to play the violin. He was a very, passive person anyway.
yeah. Did did he volunteer to play the violin for
Yes,
Hitler, or was he
he
forced to do
volunteered
it?
to join the Nazi. He never was really a Nazi. He didn't believe in that.
No.
But anyway, he joined because he had to. It was
Mhm.
either that or being forced to carry a
Yeah.
rifle.
Yeah, I
So
think
he
that
rather carried his violin.
he probably noticed the inevitability of the way that they were forcing soldiers to enlist. So that's probably
Yeah.
why he chose to do that.
All
That
the
makes
people
sense.
that came home with him from Siberia, like in the outskirt village outside, they were so starved for food. They never
Hmm.
had any food. So one of the neighbors, his family had chickens. He ate a whole chicken and dropped dead because the body couldn't take it.
Yeah. That could have been where his bloating came from too, just the body not
Yeah.
being able to
And
handle.
we found out about it because it was impossible for the body to absorb all the fat and whatever.
Sure. Wow. That's wild. And you said that he as a um dad was different. You don't remember him very well before he went off to war because you were really, really young, right?
Well, one thing my dad was hooked on cigarettes because
Hmm.
they were given to him. Didn't give him any food, but they gave him cigarettes.
And you said that he really loved animals when he came back too. He was probably loved them
Yeah,
before he went too, but he was
he
very
was a
connected to
great
animals.
animal lover. They all followed him.
Mm.
All the dogs in the neighborhood followed him.
And how old were you when he went off to war?
When he went to war,
Yeah.
I have a picture of myself when he
Uh-huh.
was wearing his uniform, and I was like maybe 2, 3 years old in Berlin.
Okay. So you have
So
very
I think
little,
that's when he,
you have a
yeah.
2, 3 year old memory, and then he comes back and you're 6 or 7. How old are you?
When I came back, I was close to 10 years old.
Oh, close to 10. Okay. And so
So that whole time span, I don't know at least
almost 7 to 8 years you haven't seen your
7
dad,
years. Yeah.
and you have memories of him when you were 2 or 3 years old. And the memories that you had of him when you were 2 or 3 years old are very different, or are they the same as the memories you had when he came back?
The memories I had when I was 2 or 3 years old, I had none really of my dad except what I saw in pictures.
Mm,
I did, however, have the memories with my mom being in Berlin, um, having my grandmother, for example, which is my dad's mom,
hmm.
with her bird. She would come and she had an apartment very close by in the same building, maybe. She would come and stay with him. And one thing I did mention too, my mom would have to go to work,
Mm-hmm.
doing whatever she had to do. The women all had to clear away the rubble. If there was a demolition of a building, for example, you
Mm-hmm.
know, the, you see it in the Ukraine, all this rubble. The
Mm-hmm.
women had to clear it. They had to get rid of all it. Not the men, because the men were in the war.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so my mom left me alone at home in the house, in the apartment, without a babysitter. Of course, there was no such thing. What I did though, we had a stove. Now that was probably was a dangerous situation,
Mm.
but there was no more fire in the stove. So I took all the ashes and I spread them all over the whole place, the whole
Why did you do
apartment
that?
on the floor. Why?
Just just as a kid, just messing around? Why did you do that?
Why? Because I think I probably was disgusting for being all alone.
Oh, it was kind of you rebelling a little bit. You didn't want to be alone.
Maybe,
Yeah.
yeah.
Interesting
But
memory.
I couldn't leave the apartment,
Mm-hmm.
couldn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
So that's how I retaliated, maybe.
Mm.
I don't know. Could be.
Okay, I'm gonna dig deep on this question. Are you ready for it? Do
Yeah,
you
what?
do you remember when you were a kid that you had a dream? Did you have any dreams of like what it would be like to be an adult or what it would be like to grow up? You have any dreams when you were a
I
kid that
only had
you remember?
dreams of the bombing and spending time in a bomb shelter
Did
because
you have any like dreams or things that you were excited about in your future though? Those kind of dreams. Did you have any things you aspired and got excited about?
like what?
Like any big hopes that you had for your life when you were a kid?
I said something positive or negative.
Well, you're saying something literal like a dream. I'm saying something more of the metaphor of did you have any big hopes and something you got excited about for what it would be like to be an adult or something you were excited about for your future?
Well, later, somehow, and I still don't know how it happened, but we were evacuated, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And we had to go to Coburg on the train because the authorities knew that we had my grandparents living in Coburg. That's the only
Mm-hmm.
way to go. And I remember the train ride. I remember the benches were all slats of wood to sit on, nothing
Mm-hmm.
upholstered, slats of wood. And we had to take turns with elderly people and mothers with children. That's how it
Mm-hmm.
worked, taking turns to sit. Otherwise, you'd be standing up for hours and hours and hours. And then we got to Berlin. I mean, we got to Coburg and moved in because my grandpa bought this half house, the one that the Beater family bought.
Oh, okay.
See, it's a
Yeah.
half of a, it's a double house, and one half had two apartments, an upstairs and a downstairs one. We could change actually. Sometimes we lived upstairs, sometimes downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
And Karin and her mom and her dad, wasn't her dad. Her mom was married to this guy named Connie. And when he found out she was pregnant by some soldier, he split. They never saw him again.
Mm.
So, so my aunt, she never had a husband really, except that Termila, who was from the East Zone, who needed he needed a place to live, so she took him in. But it was not Karin's dad either.
No.
Anyway, um, we had half. There was one half that had two couples upstairs, downstairs, and then there was on the right side was the one that my grandpa bought,
Mm-hmm.
the two apartments. And so we lived in the one apartment, and my aunt lived in the other one with my cousin. So I think we lived upstairs or they lived downstairs. Upstairs is the one we lived in because that's where my grandma had the lightning beam hit her upstairs,
Okay.
coming through the window.
And again, this is probably when you were 5 or 6 when you had to evacuate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we were evacuated before the war was over. It's
Got it.
during the war.
Oh, wow. And that's where you ended up staying.
So ended up coming to Coburg, and there was bombing in Coburg at that time too, because the house across the street, the whole facade was ripped off.
Wow.
Yeah,
But we're just lucky that it didn't hit the other side of the street. You're still with us. Oh,
and not only that, but of course, when the sirens were going, you had to go down the basement and sleep on the apple crates. And my
yeah.
cousin and my aunt and Oma would sleep on the chairs. That
Wow.
was way before my dad came home from the war.
Yep. Wow. Um, those are some amazing memories, Mom. Any other memories you want to share about the childhood before I kind of move on to something else?
Hmm.
There's a lot there. How about I go to something that like this? There something that you remember that made you most happy as a kid and something that made you most fearful as a kid?
Yeah, what made me most fearful is the bombing
Yeah. What made you
and
most
having to
happy?
spend time in a shelter.
Yeah.
But uh, the shelter that was outside of the apartment was only in Berlin. In
Uh-huh.
Coburg, you just went downstairs in the basement,
Do you remember
in the
how long you
basement
have
where
to
the
stay in the
apple
shelter?
crates were.
How long would
What's
you have
that?
to stay in it?
Until the bombing was over. They
Hours,
they would always
days? Do you know how
they
long?
would well they would usually somehow let us know when it was over.
Mm-hmm.
And I could always I in my ears I could hear the bombing. I could hear the planes, the Allies flying overhead all the time. I could hear it and I could see it.
Yeah.
That's what scared the shit out of me a lot of
Yeah.
times.
Was it really loud or was it something you heard in the
It was
distance?
loud. It was loud.
Yeah. Was it loud enough that it could have hurt your ears?
No, not that loud.
Okay.
It's just that these like a humming kind of noise, a loud humming noise for
Mm,
those planes. Because those kind of, you can see it sometimes on TV when they show these old war stories. You can hear those planes. It's just like a humming noise,
yeah.
a loud humming noise.
Gotcha. All right, I'm gonna move us to something a little bit lighter, okay? So can you tell me about maybe when you had your first date? When was your first date you ever had with somebody?
My first date, I'd
Yeah.
rather tell you about my first kiss.
Ooh, how about that? Go ahead. Who's that?
That was the funniest thing because us girls, we would always just walk because we didn't want to go over the big mountain. So we
Uh-huh.
went below and we went through the was like a canal situation where the water would flow through if there was rain. Anyway, but above it there were these homes that where people lived that didn't have any money. It was
Hmm.
just like government homes.
Hmm.
So there was this one family there, and they had a son, and that son must have been a little bit older than me. Don't even remember his name. But anyway, what happened is he would always watch when I was coming with my friends. He would be coming, running down, and he would grab me and give me a kiss, and then he ran away. He ran away and never really knew. He was so scared he ran away.
This happened one time or did it happen over and over?
Just one time.
Just one time. Okay.
One time. That was my first kiss of
And how
some
old were you?
runaway, a
How
runaway
old were you?
boy that might have been 2 years older than me.
Okay. You were what, how old at that time though?
Well, I was coming home from school,
Yeah.
and the school was also very obscure because there are no male school teachers because they were all in the war.
Yeah.
I might have been 12, maybe something like that.
Well, okay. All right. He didn't get you that young. Okay. All right. And so yeah, it was your first kiss, but you hadn't gone on a date yet, have you? No,
No, that was not a date.
no date that you've
As
gone
far as
on.
a date is concerned, I was not allowed to have a date anyway.
Oh, really? Tell us about that. Why weren't you allowed to have a date?
Because there was no reason to have a date.
No.
If a boy would want to date me, my mom would have said, "The hell, get out of here." There was no way to have a date.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about some specifics of your spouses. Who are you married to?
What's that?
Who
Say
are
that
you
again.
married to? What's the name of your husband?
Oh, the name of my husband,
Yeah.
John Frederick Welty.
And how did you meet John Frederick Welty?
That was by accident, and also he forced, oh, yes, he forced himself. Now that actually really was a date,
Yeah.
or maybe something like a date. And he walked me home.
Okay.
He walked
So
me home,
when you
and then he
say,
wanted to see my parents. Okay. And
oh,
I said,
right
"Oh,
away,
no, no,
right away, he wanted to meet your parents right away, huh?
no." He may have walked me home a few times, but
Okay.
he wanted to meet my parents. And I said,
Okay.
"No way," because I don't think my parents like Americans anyway. Although my dad did, that was a job that he had after the war. He didn't get a job cutting hair or anything like that. He got a job with the American families that rented homes in my hometown and they brought their families there. So he would do like um, be custodial job, making sure the houses were in good shape. He wouldn't do any cooking or anything like that, but he kept everything, the garden, everything in order. But uh, and I think too, the families did have a Christmas party, and they gave me this doll, and that doll was pretty good sized doll, but it didn't have any real hair. It had only this artificial hair, and you comb it, and all the whole hair would end up in your comb. Artificial
Uh-huh.
hair.
How funny.
Nice, was beautifully done, nice and curly and everything, but it
Yeah,
wasn't real. Let me get him now.
sure.
But they did have a nice party, and they also had wonderful cake. The American, I don't know where they got the cakes from with all the frosting and everything that we never would have because we didn't have any sugar.
Oh,
So we had neither flour nor sugar. So we couldn't bake or anything. But anyway, so my dad working for the American families for like couple families, they
hmm.
invited us to their party, Christmas party or something. Yeah, that's how I ended up with this doll.
Okay. Well, let's go
It's
back
really a
to,
pretty doll, but she
hold
really didn't
on.
have very pretty hair.
I would imagine I want to go back and talk a little bit about the moment where you said you met
Oh,
John
when I took my
Frederick Welty.
your dad
So
home.
let's talk about the moment where we're talking about where
Oh
you
my
met him.
gosh, you don't want to know that.
Oh, we do too. We
That was
definitely
so funny because I was afraid. I told him, I don't want to take you to see my parents because they don't like Americans anyway. So why would you want to go see them? And except my dad, working for them, but my mom. And so what your dad did, he forced himself into the house. Well, see, the house had a front door. Now you go into that front door and you have a few steps up, would be one apartment to the left, to the right, that my aunt lived in, and then I had to go up wooden steps to the apartment we lived in. Well,
Mhm.
your dad, nervy enough as he was, he forced himself in, and he And my mom took flight. She it would really scared the heck out of her, so she didn't even stick around.
Oh boy.
So she left, and so he went all the way upstairs and talked to my dad. Take your time. And he's
Okay.
in, and he introduced himself. And of
Uh-huh.
course, my dad working for the Americans, he knew some English. And then after he got done introducing himself, he said, "You want a beer?" That was so funny.
That is so funny.
So that's how they started talking to each other
Okay.
for what it was worth.
Yeah. And the moment in which you met, though, you still haven't shared. Where's the moment where you set eyes upon John Frederick Welty? Where were you guys at?
Say that again.
Where were you guys at when your eyes met with John Frederick Welty when you met him?
Well, I was following behind because I was too scared because my mom already taking flight. I don't know where she was. She must have been hiding in the yard or something. And I went and followed him upstairs to see my
Yeah.
dad, and I couldn't believe there he was talking to him.
Yeah. Well, let's even rewind to when you actually met Dad. Where did you meet him? The
See,
first time you met.
that is another thing because us girls we would go after we went to school twice a week we had to go to school for
Mm,
to learn chemistry and all that stuff. And um, the other time I was my apprenticeship to go to Ebersdorf. Okay, so anyway, uh, what we did as girls, we would go and we would order milkshakes in this place. That's all you could get. It's
mhm,
milkshakes. So lo and behold, he must have, oh, because of he had Günther Migo, there was that friend of his from Ohio who had, his family had just moved to Ohio from Germany. And
mhm,
so he was his buddy, and Günther Migo was in the army too. So
mhm.
between the two of them, they followed me to that ice cream place. And if the MPs would have caught him, they would have put him in a pokey right away. They have no way of talking your way
So
out
you
of it
guys
either.
are at the ice cream place. You're getting a milkshake. He's
Yeah.
in there with Gunta, or Gunta, showed him where to go. But then you guys met. What did my dad say to you?
Well, that's probably how, after that, he probably wanted to date me.
Okay. And
And maybe my mom was a little bit more into letting me,
mhm.
because that one time I refused to go and meet your dad. So she almost pushed me. She almost said, "Why are you leaving this poor guy's hanging there? He's down there waiting for you." And I said, "I'm not going."
and she
I
and
don't know
she
why. I
told
think
you to
it's
go?
because your dad was gambling.
Yeah.
There was this place in Coburg where they
Uh-huh.
would gamble. And it's like a street type of gambling like they do in New York, like they throw coins
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah, yeah.
And when I saw that, I said, I'm not going to go see him anymore. So I told him, forget it.
Yeah.
And my mom pushed me. She said, "You better go see him. He's waiting for you."
Interesting. And
Yeah.
that so he tried to get you to meet him again at where you guys did you meet? Did you usually go to the
Yeah.
same
Then we
place?
went to that place, the Schöne Aussicht, which was near the castle up there, where
Okay.
some more of the soldiers actually, there were some of these that border patrol, was
Yeah.
the border patrol. Yeah. And there was a bunch of bad stuff going on at the border at the time.
Yeah.
So yeah. And that's another thing your dad did, border patrol.
Yeah. So what did you think of him when you met him?
What's that?
What did you think of him when you met him?
What I think of him?
Yeah.
Well, I thought he was different.
Yeah.
Different from the German boys,
Yeah.
because I
How is he
didn't like
different
the
from the
German
German
boys to
boys?
begin with. I
See him
didn't like
walking.
the German boys.
Yeah.
because there was one that he walked me home from the train all the time because
Uh-huh.
he lived in the neighborhood and he always wanted to date me and I said no. But he just walked me home, which was okay. I didn't mind being walked home, but I didn't really care for the German boys at all because
Okay.
they were all nasty.
So how much time from the time where you first met to the time where you guys got engaged to get married?
We met in January, I believe, and we got engaged on my birthday, which was in July,
Mm-hmm.
and got married shortly after, not not too far afterwards, from July to what's when is my wedding date?
31st, is that right? Isn't that right? July 31st, does that sound right? No. I'm kind of
Too
curious
many dates I forgot.
how did your family feel about you marrying an American soldier?
My family,
Yeah.
well, Ruth is the only one who I went on a train with, and she was Wolfgang's aunt,
Mm-hmm.
and she liked Americans, so she didn't think anything bad about it. Wolfgang liked it too, from what I know, from what I remember afterwards. That's all it really was. There was no family except my immediate family. That's all there was.
Okay. And your dad was warming up to John. Your dad was warming up
Oh,
to him.
oh
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. It was to the point where he kept saying that I'm being a wild child and doing all this and that and all that. And then he said, I know you let me get married to get rid of me. That's what I said to him.
Yeah.
And
And
I,
how did your mom feel about you marrying an American soldier?
well, she really liked your dad, except he took her on a wild ride in his Jeep and she almost fell out because
Oh
he
no.
went around the corner really fast.
Oh boy.
But she liked him.
So I it's August
And we got
31st.
chocolates too.
Yeah.
He always brought chocolates from the PX
Oh, there you go. So I had
commissary.
the wrong month, Mom.
And beans. We have coffee. That's one thing.
That's something
Coffee beans.
uh-huh. You didn't have coffee so he brought the coffee to you guys because you couldn't get it?
You couldn't buy any.
Really? Wow. Can't
There was
imagine
no
it these
coffee
days.
available. The
Yeah.
only thing is what they called Muggelfuck, the
Okay.
coffee. That was like a substitute coffee that tasted so bad it made you,
Oh, gotcha.
yeah. A lot of people remember that stuff. It was awful. Make you gag.
Yeah. So you got married in Germany. So your anniversary is August 31st. I had the wrong month. It's August 31st. So you
Yeah.
got married in Germany and then you decided that you guys were going to go back to the States. Do you remember why you had decided to go back to the States?
Why it did or did not.
Why you had to go back to the States? Do you remember that?
Well, we got married in Germany, and Dad forced me to get the papers done because he said we have to get married at this particular time, or else the papers will not be done sufficiently for you to go with him, in February
In February?
on the
Okay.
boat.
Okay.
So anyway, so that's how he forced me to get marry him. See, so
So
I
you
did. Okay,
gotcha.
so we got married and then left in February. And that was pretty scary to me because I had to take the train
Mm,
from Coburg over Bayreuth all the way up to Bremerhaven, which is a long ways up to the east, where the East Sea is,
uh-huh.
by myself. get off the train. All my stuff was sent ahead of time. They packed everything up. I
Mm-hmm.
think the army packed everything up and sent it to his parents' house.
Okay.
Okay. So anyway, but being there all by myself and standing there, and I thought to myself, do I really want to go to the United States? Do I really want to leave my country? I really loved my country. I really didn't want to leave it.
Mm,
It was very hard.
yeah. When you did that, you had to say goodbye to your mom and say goodbye to your dad and say goodbye to your sister.
You know, I said goodbye to them, my sister and my dad. My mom went with me a short distance on the train and
Okay.
said
What was that
goodbye.
like?
Yeah,
Was that hard?
left me all alone.
Was that hard when she left you to go
Yeah,
back?
it was hard. It was just hard to leave the country.
Yeah. It's um that's
I was
amazing.
18 years old.
You're 18 years old and you had to decide to leave the country. Wow. Huh.
Dad was 4 years older.
Yeah, and part of being in the service, his dad had his where he was appointed, where he was stationed. And so either you were going to marry him and continue to go to the States, or it
Then
was
coming to the United States and being, I don't know if it was New York or wherever it was, but where the boat ended up. It, what is it? This island or someplace where they
Staten Island. Would it have been there? Somewhere near there? Or would it have
and
been
they where
Ellis
they
Island?
check you in or check you out and then make sure you're there and all that stuff.
Mhm.
And so yeah, and then from then on we went to Baltimore
Okay.
because he was supposed to go to Fort Meade in Baltimore. That
Okay.
was his destination.
Mm.
So we lived in Baltimore, not in I mean in Baltimore, but it's Baltimore. It's not a state, is it? Is Baltimore a state or is it a
No,
city?
it's a city in Maryland. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, Maryland. That's right. So we lived in Maryland, but in Glen Burnie, which is by Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, there's a Navy Academy there near Glen Burnie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's why I met Augusta Weiss, a German lady who was years before coming to the United States from Germany.
Mm.
And she had three beauty shops.
Oh.
And I was able to work in all three of them.
Oh, that's great. The
But
again.
anyway, Augusta Weiss was very nice to me.
Mm-hmm.
Her husband, I think, might have been American. That's
Mm-hmm.
how she came to the United States. Her son went to Cornell
Okay.
University
New York.
because she, earned all that money to be able to put him through Cornell. And I think he was studying to be a doctor or something. I'm not sure which. But anyway, so Dad was in Glen Burnie, but
Mm-hmm.
he didn't like there was some kind of incident or something. So he wanted to be transferred to Ohio.
Okay.
So we picked up again and we went to Columbus, Ohio.
Wow. Okay. So Baltimore, and then from Baltimore directly to Ohio, or did you say you had to go to Glen Burnie too?
No, we left Glen Burnie and I remember driving. I was like 7 months pregnant already.
Oh, wow.
And we drove to Ohio and found a place to live in Columbus with an elderly couple.
Can I ask you to rewind just a little bit for me on something that I remember you sharing with me, that there was a time when you got married back in Germany and you lived for a short period of time in a very like a communal living area, that there were some interesting just interesting things that happened that were a little bit
Are you
strange.
talking about the Russians?
Yeah, what can you tell me a little bit more about that? So how long were you married when that happened? This was back in Germany, and what
Yeah,
happened?
because we were back in Germany and having kind of taking whatever living, quarters would, because your dad did not want me to live in a government housing from the army. That
Mm-hmm.
was one of his main things he did not want.
Mm-hmm.
So we lived off that whole, and we lived with a Russian couple in an apartment. We shared their apartment. And that was the strangest thing because they would get night visitors all the time. People knocking on their bathroom door, and I would check it out. And I think, this was really weird. So one of the husband or wife would go to find out who it was. It would always be somebody standing there with a big backpack. And I don't know what they were doing,
A big
but
backpack?
a backpack,
Oh, okay.
rucksack,
Yeah.
rucksack.
Oh,
So I don't know whether they brought him something or took something or brought something. I have no idea. But I know they spoke Russian, and of course I didn't understand what they were saying. However, that couple was very nice because the husband is the one that took me around to buy my wedding ring,
okay.
the one that I still have that has all the circles around it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, to do a jewelry place where they sold wedding rings.
Now, was there a time where you, because you happened to be around this kind of living quarters, that there was somebody that followed you for some reason? There's some story about that too.
Yeah, that went on for years.
How
It
many?
went on for years because I felt like I was being followed. And I think it was because of my communist relatives.
Oh,
Because in order to be able to come to the United States, I had to complicate myself, or at least find out. They wanted to find out why I have communist relatives and not join the party. Okay.
mm,
So that was one of the things that I have remember. I still, one time I went to, one time in Budapest, we stayed, that's when Wolfgang, Christina, we went to Budapest on the way to that Lake Balaton. And the strangest thing was, there was this woman, and she would be staring at me in this restaurant. And they
mm,
were having like Hungarian music and stuff like that. And I wondered why.
mm,
And then again, someplace else, I mean, in Coburg, I went to some festival in Coburg, and there she was again.
mm.
And I just wondered why. And I never talked to her. She never talked to me. But thought it was really weird.
That is weird.
I can still see her face.
Wow.
She
And
must have
this
been a
went on
spy assigned to.
years? How many years did it go on? And how was it happening after you were married or before you were married?
It went on during the time when I was still living in Coburg, and then not in the United States. I don't remember, but going on some kind of trips or being on vacation somewhere, she would be there.
And you were newly married at the time? Is that, or was it before you were
Yeah,
married?
I was married at the time too,
Newly
or
married.
engaged to be married. So
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know why.
Huh. That's really interesting. Hmm. Are there any other interesting things about the places that you've lived, both, the different cities that you've been in, both Germany and then in the US? Like you said, you lived in Baltimore and then you moved to Columbus. Uh, is there any particular favorites of where you live that you really enjoyed certain things?
Not really. I did not really like the biggest cities. I mean, your dad, for example, working for Allstate, he won all these. wonderful trips to like Singapore, Hong Kong, and every place. I was never really that fond of big cities, but it got a lot of enjoyment out of it, going to different places and different countries.
Yeah. Do you have any events that pop up in your head that you remember that
What?
any big
Well,
events in your life that really affected you a lot that you can think of?
what affected me?
Yeah, any big events in your life that may have affected you a lot? I mean,
Yeah,
obviously getting married,
identifying my grandfather when he was already dead.
now that one's a pretty big one, huh?
It was devastating.
Yeah.
And the effect it had on my grandmother
Mm,
when she was hoping to find him alive.
mm. Was there anybody alive after that explosion of that train?
Yeah,
Was it?
the ones that were notified ahead of time, so they jumped off the train. There
Oh,
were some that jumped off the train. He
wow.
was not lucky enough to be notified.
Wow. Did not know about that. That's very interesting.
That was a very sad situation.
Yeah, that's very sad. Um, so when you moved to Columbus, you said you moved from Baltimore to Columbus. Now, from there, how long did you stay in Columbus until you moved again?
Actually, where did we? Probably until we came to the United States, maybe most likely.
Well, that is in the United States, Columbus, Ohio. We're talking about right now. How long did you stay in Columbus, Ohio, after you moved from Baltimore to Columbus, Ohio? Did you move anywhere else in Ohio, or did you move from there to California?
This is what I'm saying. I think we moved to California right from Columbus, Ohio,
Okay.
because we lived in Columbus. Uh, on the north side, we had a house, and then
Hmm.
we lived on the south side also, because your dad, changed with Allstate, he changed offices.
Hmm.
So I think from Columbus, we made the move to California.
Okay. And
Gosh, it's already after 3 o'clock.
I know. Are you wanting to take a break, or are you doing okay?
How much more do you need to know?
Well, I have a few more questions for you, but I mean, you've really covered so much. You've talked about so many good things. Um, I'm gonna jump down to um so when you were in, I know that you've done other jobs besides being a beautician too. Didn't you do some other work as well? You had some other jobs. You're flower arranging for different
That
places.
came after the beautician.
And okay, and then you also did some other things that when you were back in Columbus, I thought as well,
I
right?
was making wigs or hair pieces one time
Uh-huh.
before I had a job in California. Um, I was working for someone that wanted to have hair pieces made.
Okay.
So, so I said, well, that was real hair too.
Oh wow. Did you do some also selling of cosmetics? Did some door-to-door sales of
I
that?
was also selling video and footage cosmetics. That was one of my major achievements. And I still have my plaque
Yeah.
that that I got for my achievements.
Well, tell us about that. What was the
So I did
achievement?
really well. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
And not only that, um, my profits
Hmm.
were 40% of the proceeds.
Oh, cool.
For example, that was not bad
Not bad at all.
because, first of all, the cosmetics I sold were pretty expensive too.
Yeah. They're probably very high end. Very
So
nice.
he gave us high-end stuff, right? The stuff that you buy in like Macy's and stuff like that, you know. Nothing cheap, nothing drugstore type.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about now your sister had stayed in Germany until a point where she moved to the United States. We tell us a little bit about who your sister is and how much younger she is and her process of coming from Germany to the United States. Can you tell us about that?
Well, my sister being 10 years younger, for one thing, and she would forever ask me to allow her to come to the United States to live with us. And your dad said, no way. Because if she was a wild child and just dated anybody, no way we're going to be responsible for her
Mhm,
on top of everything else. So she married Jim.
mhm,
And, but before she married Jim, she had, she had Beatrice. Um, and I guess the father of Beatrice was her boyfriend who wanted to marry her, but she didn't want to marry him. And I can't remember now why, the reason for it being, but evidently because, you know, he had a mother and there was a bunch of reasons why she didn't want to marry him. So, but she did have Beatrice and she brought up Beatrice, and I guess Jim adopted her too. And then they had Belinda after that.
mhm,
But, you know, he being in the Vietnamese War made
mhm,
it very difficult for them to live together because he would relive his Vietnam War
mhm,
days on a daily basis.
mhm.
It was very hard.
Yeah.
He would be in attack mode anytime, like when they lived in Heidelberg in Mannheim. He would be on the balcony in his uniform with his rifle
Mm.
in
Oh,
attack mode.
mm,
I mean, you know, they did not rehabilitate these people.
mm,
The ones, the soldiers that came back from the war, they just did not in any way give them any kind of like mental rehabilitation.
mhm.
That's the bad part. So many of them committed suicide because of it. They couldn't handle it.
Yeah. And so do you remember what year they moved back into and they moved to Carpinteria directly, or did they move into the United States first to
It was
finish?
actually no.
Okay.
We when we moved to California, we moved to like Santa Barbara where we lost that house.
Hmm.
It was really nice apartment we were going to sell for. We were going to rent it for $149. And we had already sent the money in or something, I don't know. But someone bought the damn building right out from under us for $120,000 in those days. Can you believe it?
I can't, yeah. I it's hard to believe. It's hard to believe. And so then you got evicted.
And that was in a nice part of town in Santa Barbara, too. I mean, it pisses me off and I think about it.
Well, you seem to work out okay for you guys, but the
Every once in a while, I went by that house and make sure it's still there. It
so
wasn't really, it was a, so this is when we built this house. So there's some similarities that I took from that house in Santa Barbara and adopted in this house here.
okay. Yeah. And so you're gonna live in an apartment in Santa Barbara, in the of this
Yeah.
house you're talking about.
Yeah. Then we lived in a not so nice area in Santa Barbara.
Okay, and that's when Jim and Evelyn moved with Beatrice to the
And
area.
then of course we had to manage Bam's Auto Court
Okay.
on State Street
Hmm.
where the Fiesta Bowl was, a bowling alley. And your dad had to manage that place, and we lived in that big 2-story house there with Karen. And did we have John then? I don't remember.
Hmm.
We must have. But anyway, so then the people that owned Bam's Auto Court was a Trevelyan family. They had a hotel by the beach.
Hmm.
And so that's how we ended up Smokey, the dog, the one that scratched John Jr. in the face.
Oh.
That was really sad. Karen was telling me how it affected him.
Mm.
So anyway, so that's how we ended up in Carpinteria because Trevelyan had on what is now 7th Street, the Lindo Apartments. They had little slum places where the ladies of the night would be working over the Presero problem. That were then in those days. The Mexicans had a program for a year they could live in that shack down by the Aliso School. You remember that?
Okay.
That big long building? They burned it down afterwards. But anyway, so that's, and we of course ended up with that gas station and a little grocery store and a house. A house. When I looked up, I could see the mountains. Yeah. And that was our wonderful start in Carpinteria.
Wow.
Smokey, our dog.
Smokey the
He
dog.
was a really good guard dog, too.
Yeah.
I want one of those.
Yeah. And Evelyn, Jim, and Beatrice, did they move into not that far after that? And that's and that did they live in Carpinteria at that point too, or was it a little later?
So then Karen was in kindergarten,
Uh,
going to school in Santa Barbara at the time because we lived in an apartment on Upper State Street or San Roque. San Roque. We lived in an apartment, but she went to school at right off of State Street, La Cumbre Junior La Cumbre School. She started out kindergarten there. And then, of course, when we moved to Carpinteria, she went to kindergarten here and had the wonderful teacher, Mrs. Constantini.
oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, we can go into
You
that.
had her too, didn't you?
I can no, she was a principal when I was going through school, but
Yeah.
she we can go through I'll interview Karen maybe sometime and we can talk about that. Um
Well, Karen said she would pull her pigtails all the time.
yeah,
Whenever she would be talking, she
yeah,
pulled her pigtails. So that was, yeah, Karen starting kindergarten here
yeah. And
at
that's
Aliso School.
and
Mhm.
that's how you guys landed in Carpinteria. And then you got to own a couple different other houses before you're at the house you're at right now. Is that correct?
Say that again.
Had a couple different houses that you moved to before you moved to the current house.
Oh, yeah, in Santa Barbara.
No, in Carpinteria, didn't you have a couple other houses that you
Yeah,
moved
we
to?
bought a couple of houses and sold them. We bought
Yeah,
them and sold them. Yeah,
yeah,
to the
yeah,
Howenstein family one time. One of them.
yeah. So tell me, just go through those houses really quick. Which ones were they? And then before you came to the house you're at right now,
Actually, the one we lived in was the one right next to a Karen, what Mark and Emily living in.
Amelia?
That was the last one we lived in before having this house.
Okay. And then there was one before that though, or was there not?
And
That's
before
one before.
that, it was a similar house, but it was in a housing tract.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let me like change gears on it a little bit and just ask you a couple questions as we kind of finalize and finish up here, okay? These are a little bit more straightforward, but here we go. Is there anything that about you that others would be surprised to learn? Is there something that you could tell me that other people may not realize about you that would surprise other people?
So stuff that I didn't tell you.
No, just anything about you, about Vera Welty. Is there anything that you could tell me that you would say this would surprise people to know this about me?
What I really wanted to is a college education because I was into biology.
Oh,
And I was always my because I used to, during the war, there was no butter available. We used to buy margarine. And with the margarine, there was these little pictures always come with it. And you would learn all about trees and animals and stuff like that. And that to me was very, very important. I had stacks and stacks of those pictures of all these animals and of vegetation.
wow.
So that was my main thing. And I wish I'd had the opportunity to go to college to study biology.
Wow. That's amazing. I just learned something about you I never knew. That's awesome. Um, and you already shared about an accomplishment selling cosmetics that you are so proud of, that plaque. Are there any other things that of accomplishments? It's okay to say things good about yourself, Mom. Is there any other accomplishments that you're really proud of in your life? And it doesn't have to be a placard or anything. You have any accomplishments you want to share with us?
It is actually because I was a very shy person. And my biggest accomplishment was to approach people out of the cold, not knowing them, to try to sell them something.
Mm.
To me, that was just, jumping out of myself and doing it. To me, it was an accomplishment because I thought I would never do it. In the beginning, I hated approaching people.
Yeah,
So that's about it.
that's great. That's great. Um, these are very straightforward questions. We're going to close down soon, but I want to ask who or what has influenced your life the most?
Who would what?
Who or what has influenced your life the most?
A lot of people, not just one person, a lot of people. Sometimes a teacher. And I remember in the olden days, my my Lutheran education in school, in elementary school in Coburg, there was this teacher I had. Now he was decrepit. He was he had maybe he had polio when he grew up. I don't know, but anyway, he would was limping, and he wasn't very cute either. But he told the most wonderful story about the Old Testament.
Mm,
And that to me was important because I would listen. All the rest of them, they couldn't care less. They screwed around and made fun of him and all that. And to me, it was important to listen to him.
mm, that's really neat, Mom. Um,
And I don't even remember his name now either.
that's okay.
But, he had a positive effect on me,
Yeah, that's really neat. Um,
especially the Old Testament.
mhm. Um, so again, we're closing down soon, but if you could choose, how would you like to be remembered? When all is said and done, because people are looking back and saying, Vera Welty, how would you want to be remembered by others?
As a peacemaker,
Mhm.
a harmonizer. I did not like derision. I do not like people fighting with each other. To me, in a family especially, to me, it's very important to have peace in a family, within the family. Everybody loving each other.
It's awesome. And is there anything else? This is kind of the final two questions. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to people that are watching or to the family or to me?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I think I said it all.
You said it all and you did it very, very well. And I have the last question is it okay that I share this interview with other people, that it's posted? Is it okay that this is shared with others?
You're not sharing it with Nimmer, are you?
Sharing it with him, I'm sharing it. It might go on the website if you allow it. That's the
He wants
question.
to interview me anyway.
Huh?
He wanted to interview me.
Right. This is the interview. I get to do the interview. So
No, he does too. He
no,
wanted to some time ago.
right. But I'm doing it in his place is the point.
You're doing it in
Is
his place.
it okay that he posts this interview online?
All right. Okay.
You're okay with that?
Okay.
Because it's
All right.
tough. You did a
You
wonderful.
can tell him all that stuff.
All right.
And then if I see him, I'll tell him some more.
Yes, do that. Do that. Well, you did a wonderful job. I'm going to sign off here and I'll call you in a few minutes, but I just wanted to say you did a great job and thank you for letting me interview you. You're wonderful.
I'll come anytime. You do
All
a
right.
good job. You're a good interviewer.
Thanks, Mom. All right. We'll talk soon. Okay. I'll give you a
Love
call.
you.
Love you.
Love you. Bye. Say hi to your family and
I
your
will.
wife and your lovely children.
Will.